Nick Toka. On today's show, while Bitcoin bleeds red, Bitcoin price could rally even as global trade war rages on. Here's why. Bitcoin price mirrors global M2 money supply as crypto analysts reveal May timeline for blast off pricing. Kraken partners with MasterCard to bring Bitcoin payments to over 150 million merchants. I also saw that Jerome Powell, Fed chair, is going to hold an emergency meeting to drop interest rates immediately because of the current turmoil in the markets, which is, of course, what Trump asked him to do days ago, but he did not. Now he's doing it under his own volition and desperation. We're going to go through Bitcoin Market Watch, technical analysis, all this and so much more on today's show. Welcome, folks, to CryptoNews Global. I'm your host, Nick Toka, and Bitcoin and the whole market is bleeding red as we speak, down 5.5%, looking for a rescue, as is the traditional financial markets. The S&P, even the Nikkei that was pumping yesterday, is already down a couple percent today. And what I've read is Jerome Powell is going to be coming out and in an emergency meeting will drop interest rates. That certainly will turn the market around and turn the biddy around as well. Let's get right into our Market Watch and Bitcoin technical analysis. Biddy, as mentioned, down 5.5%, currently at 76,250. Ethereum down 10%. 1,448. XRP down 7%, $1.78. Solana down 5.5%, $105. Cardano down 6.5%, 56 cents. Doge down 6.5%, 14 cents. The crypto bubble shows us that everything right now is in the red for the day, about 90% in the red, 10% in the green. If we zoom out to the hourly, looks like the bottom was hit and everything has been pumping for the past hour anyway. But that's just 1 hour. Let's see what happens over a day or a week. Looking at the monthly, Bitcoin, it's not on our list here in terms of gainers or losers, but Saros, holy moly, for the month up 600%. Cheems up 70%. Pendle, all these coins I've never heard of. Layer up 81%. Venom up 100%. Zooming out to the monthly, we've got Bitcoin current market cap at $1.5 trillion. Ethereum 174 billion, XRP 104 billion. Wow, it made it as high as, I think it was 150 billion at one point. Solana 54 billion, Tron 21.5 billion, Doge 21 billion, Cardano 19.5 billion. Total crypto market cap sitting at $2.39 trillion, with Bitcoin holding 63.41% of that, Ethereum 7.3%, and XRP 4.35%. The Crypto Fear and Greed Index now finally in extreme fear. I thought we were in extreme fear for a week, but now it's on paper at an 18. Yesterday it was in fear, a 24, and last week in neutral, 44. There's 1,100 days until the next Bitcoin halving in 2028, with 158,419 blocks left to mine. Total assets by market cap, we've got gold at 20 trillion, 300 billion. Microsoft 2.6 trillion. who has now flipped Apple. Apple is number 3 position at 2.6 trillion. Nvidia 2.3 trillion. Amazon 1.8 trillion. Google 1.7. Silver 1.67. Saudi Aramco, the oil company, 1.637. Bitcoin in the number 9 position now, 1.5 trillion, and Facebook 1.3 trillion. You can currently get 1,311 satoshis for 1 US fiat dollar. The debt clock has now flipped the 700 billion point, so 36 trillion 701 billion dollars, equaling 107,297 per US citizen, or $323,049 per US taxpayer. Doge has saved, as of right now, $296 billion. So that is per taxpayer $2,633. That is up $33 from yesterday. The only thing that's currently making people money is Doge's savings, interestingly enough. Yeah, so Bitcoin bleed in red, boy, back down to the 76.5 mark, which I didn't think we would see. Now, I read an article today about Jerome Powell. So when Trump came out with the tariffs, he immediately, first of all, when he came into term, he immediately asked Powell to lower interest rates. We need lower interest rates. He refused. Then Trump put these tariffs on the world, and again, the same day, he asked Powell, we need lower interest rates, or lower the interest rates. No, we're going to wait and see. Now I read an article just an hour ago saying Jerome Powell, head of the Fed, said he is going to hold an emergency meeting to reduce interest rates, and now they're calling for 1.25 to 1.5% drop in interest rates over the year, whereas before it was being called for 2 interest rate cuts of 0.25 each one. So let's see what that happens. Definitely the market needs something, anything, to bring things back where they should be. Certainly with the biddy as well. I'm very surprised to see this turn down. I thought we were going to hit the bottom at about 77, but we're seeing, once again, we're at 76,270 right now. A bit painful. There are definitely some good news articles that I've come up with for the Bitcoin, and I think that these are actually good bullish news, and these should come to fruition. Bitcoin price could rally even as global trade war rages on, and here's why. Bitcoin price could soar in the high stakes trade war being played by the U.S. leads to meaningful negotiations. Crypto and equity traders were hopeful for a last-minute solution that would prevent the U.S. from enacting 104 tariffs on Chinese goods entering the United States, but in a press conference, the White House confirmed that the tariffs would start on April 9th, which is tomorrow. Markets deteriorated when Peter Navarro, trade advisor to U.S. President Trump, stated the tariffs were not a negotiation, which I still believe that they are a negotiation. As a result, the S&P 500 closed April 8th with a 1.6% loss, reversing earlier gains of 4%. This downturn has left traders wondering whether Bitcoin can regain its bullish momentum amid worsening macroeconomic conditions. Spiraling U.S. debt issues remain, paving the way for Bitcoin gains. Between April 2nd and April 7th, the S&P 500 dropped by 14.5%, causing panic among Bitcoin holders and forcing a retest of the 75,000 level, the lowest in more than 5 months, which we're at exactly right now too. Here's the S&P chart on screen here. Taking a look, pardon me, this is the biddy chart. Yeah, down to 76 as we speak, and this is just a 1 week chart. We started in the mid 80s, around 88, and now we're at 76. During an appearance with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu on April 7th, President Trump reportedly said his goal was to reset the table on trade. He added that there can be permanent tariffs and there could also be negotiations because there are things that we need beyond tariffs. Amid this uncertainty, IPOs and mergers have been delayed while leverage loan deals and bond sales were sidelined, according to Yahoo Finance. It becomes clear that the stock market is likely to rally if trade war risks subside. Economists have cautioned that tariffs could trigger inflation and significantly raise the chances of an economic recession, according to Reuters. However, assessing the impact on Bitcoin price remains a challenging task. This is because some investors see the cryptocurrency's fixed monetary system as a safeguard against continuous expansion of global fiat currency supplies. Short-term correlations hurt Bitcoin, but possible interest rate cuts could turn the tide. This is what I was talking about earlier. In a short term, the positive correlation between Bitcoin and the stock market is expected to persist. Nonetheless, the U.S. government's fiscal challenges present a potential opportunity for Bitcoin's price growth. On April 8th, the U.S. 10-year Treasury yield rose to 4.28%, following a brief dip to 3.9% on April 7th. This increase suggested investors demanding higher returns to hold these assets. The rising cost of rolling over the $9 trillion, almost $10 trillion really, in federal government debt later this year, set to mature within the next 12 months, is expected to increase fiscal imbalance and weaken the U.S. dollar. The U.S. dollar index has diverged from the U.S. Treasury yields, falling to 103 on April 8th from 104 on March 31st. This situation could potentially support Bitcoin's price, a sentiment shared by BlackRock CEO Larry Fink in his March 31st letter to investors. Yeah, so this article is also betting on interest rate cuts, which I do definitely see are going to happen. There's no way around it. We've talked about this quite a bit on our show. Even if it's not in the short term for tariffs, interest rate cuts have to happen because they need to refinance. The states need to refinance their $10 trillion of their $36.5 trillion U.S. national debt this year. They have to refinance $10 trillion. So in order to do that, they're going to have to do it with low interest rates. There's no way they can, if they do it, as the article stated, with high interest rates, the U.S. dollar is basically doomed, right? So they're not going to let that happen. So interesting year coming up, folks. Let's hope the Biddy plays a big role in the advancement of everybody's financial situation, because I don't know if the U.S. dollar is going to do it. However, if Powell comes out in the next few days or week, they were saying they are going to have an emergency meeting tomorrow. So let's see if that actually happens. Now, going along with the positive things for the Biddy, because, nobody's more bullish than I am, we're going to look at the M2 money supply ramifications and the growing global M2 money supply, because as more money is printed around the world, this is a good thing for Bitcoin. Bitcoin price will rise against that. Bitcoin price mirrors global M2 as CryptoAnalyst reveals May timeline for blast off, baby. Bitcoin's price movement is starting to look positive after a brief stretch of crashes on Sunday and Monday. After breaking down to 74,000 on Monday, bearish momentum looked ready to drag Bitcoin's price down further. However, bulls quickly stepped in to defend the dip. Their aggressive buying has pushed the price back up, with Bitcoin now moving toward 80,000 level again. That was clearly this morning while, half the people were asleep. This recent crash is interesting. Well, that's throughout most of today. It was trading at about 80,000 bucks, 79, something like that, until the past couple hours, and where the price has basically tanked, and now it's down a little more to exactly 5.5% to 76,153. The recent crash is interesting because it aligns almost perfectly with the high telling metric. This metric not only foreshadowed the crash, but is now pointing to a powerful upward move for the next Bitcoin rally. Analyst says global M2 is leading signal for Bitcoin's next move. Colin, a well-followed crypto analyst on X, recently drew attention to Bitcoin's relationship with the global M2 money supply. Hey, I've been talking about that for months. Taking to social media platform X, the analyst shared a chart showing Bitcoin's price correlation with the global M2 money supply. Although with a 108-day offset, it almost looks like the M2 money supply is working as a template for Bitcoin's price action, as the leading cryptocurrency has been tracing this offset for step by step since August 2024. Yeah, so that's exactly what I was saying. I'm using a 90-day offset, which means when these guys are using a 108-day offset, when the global M2 money supply chart moves, then Bitcoin really has been moving about 3 months behind that. So whatever the M2 does, Bitcoin 3 months later will do. So it's a very good metric. So sadly, I'm going to keep looking for it, but here's my M2 money supply chart, and this is just for the US. And as we see the price, you can see it better in a bar chart here. You could see in February, it's kind of way up from January, and from, if you look at last February, for example, right, 20, yeah, and that's billions. So interesting how the numbers are actually the same, but here we see that in the chart style, the money has been printing like mad, kind of leading right into this year, and now leading right into February. And I'm curious to see what the next post is going to be for March. I'm not sure quite when we're going to get that. Interesting, there's an API. I've seen this before, but I'm not that interested in it. I would like to find a global M2 money supply chart, which is what these guys are referencing here. We can't zoom in on this, but here we are, 100 and global M2 money supply offset by 180 days. The biddy in orange. So May blast off is basically what they are saying. The M2 money supply is in yellow. So the biddy should follow behind. I'm going to do some more research on this. I definitely know a great guy to follow is Raoul Pal. He's a economist. He got the hell out of Dodge, and he's living in some little tiny island with 300 residents or something in this palace, and he seems pretty happy, even tanned every time he posts a video, and he posts pretty often. But he's a very good guy. I would call him there's Max Kaiser and there's Raoul Powell. These are the two guys that really know quite a bit about the markets. They've been in it for their older guys. They've been economists forever, and they've really been following Bitcoin for a very long time too. The chart below highlights what Colin labeled a mini rally that failed and another crash, which has played out just as M2 had predicted. Now, with the Bitcoin starting April with this crash, the M2 indicator suggests that it could very well blast off anytime soon. However, Colin noted that the price could consolidate further or experience minor dips before the anticipated rally. The analyst noted that the leading cryptocurrency is not fully out of the wood, but if lucky, it will mostly sideways from here until the blast off shown by the M2, which is not until May. Yeah, I feel like it will kind of go sideways. I just don't see it going back to the last all-time highs, right? Like that's, 69,000 bucks, but we're so close after being at 110 grand to get this close to the previous all-time highs is really surprising. So here's the last all-time high in a previous cycle I'm talking about at 69K, and here we are at 70, just above 76. Certainly if it gets to this level, then I could see some sideways shifting before a big blast off, but even to get to this level, I'd be really surprised. There's once the price seems to get to this 76,000, the bulls jump in and they're buying the dip, and there's enough liquidity that the price then goes up. So let's see if that happens again today. May blast off, question mark. BTC's rally setup strengthens despite short-term crash. Colin's forecast is based on the idea that Bitcoin could begin a major upward move by early May, which he called a blast off. The yellow M2 projected curve on this chart shows a steep climb ahead of starting from May 1st, indicating the possibility of Bitcoin rallying toward 128,000 if the correlation remains intact. So I wish we had a bigger version of this chart they had. However, the analyst did not forego the short-term risks that Bitcoin and the entire crypto market might face until April. These short-term risks are based on policy concerns regarding the Trump tariffs, which have set the investing market ablaze in the past few days. The coming weeks will be important for the outcome of this blast-off. Should it hold above the 78,000, 80,000 level while maintaining alignment with the global M2 money supply, May could usher in the parabolic move in Colin is hinting at. So I'm in agreement. We have seen in past cycles that the Bitcoin price does follow the M2 money supply, global M2, and Raoul Powell's been talking about that quite a bit recently as well, if you follow him. He makes great little short, 10-minute videos with a lot of information, a lot of graphics, makes things easy to understand. So it's a good guy to follow. If I'm going to recommend anybody, that would be the man for sure. Some other good news for Bitcoin today. Kraken partners with MasterCard to bring Bitcoin payments to over 150 million merchants. Go figure. Kraken teams up with MasterCard to launch crypto payment solutions in the UK and Europe, enabling customers to spend Bitcoin at millions of retailers. MasterCard has announced a landmark partnership with Kraken to enable real-world Bitcoin and crypto payments at scale across the UK and Europe. The collaboration aims to allow Kraken's users to spend their digital assets over 150 million merchants worldwide that accept MasterCard, marking a major step forward in the integration of Bitcoin into everyday commerce. So what's interesting here is, I haven't read this article, but what I can say is, of course, MasterCard wants your biddy. So the way, and before going through this article, I presume that you put some Bitcoin on your MasterCard, and then you spend money with your MasterCard, and your Bitcoin is what gets spent. But probably what's going on in the background is MasterCard is like, ha ha ha, we have a master plan. We will allow people to use our MasterCard and pay with Bitcoin, we will take their Bitcoin and we will then pay the merchant in cash. This is what I'm speculating. Let's read on. MasterCard is committed to driving innovation, expanding the possibilities of digital payments, stated Scott Abrahams, Executive Vice President at Global Partnership at MasterCard. Our partnership with Kraken is a concrete demonstration of this, as we work together to unlock the true potential of crypto assets for the everyday use, with a shared ambition to simplify, interpret, and secure the digital asset ecosystem. We are proud to collaborate with Kraken and bring real value to their user base. Kraken, one of the most established cryptocurrency exchanges with over 15 million customers globally, is using MasterCard's expansive payment infrastructure to expand its product suite. This includes the rapid rollout of physical and digital debit cards that connect crypto balances to retail spending. The partnership also builds on the growing momentum of Kraken Pay, a feature introduced by the exchange to offer fast, borderless payments in cryptocurrencies and fiat currencies. In just 3 months since its launch, more than 200,000 users have activated their personal Krak tag to send money worldwide with the simplicity of sending a text, the announcement stated. Crypto is transforming the payment industry, and we envision a future where global commerce and everyday payments are powered by crypto assets, said Kraken CEO David Ripley in the release. Our customers want to be able to easily pay for real-world goods and services with their cryptocurrencies or stablecoins. Our partnership with MasterCard is a major step in realizing this vision. Together, we will unlock the full potential of crypto assets in everyday life, ensuring their long-term relevance and utility. Kraken users in the UK and Europe can now join the waitlist for the upcoming crypto debit cards and start preparing to use their BTC in a day-to-day spending, signaling a new chapter in the mainstream adoption of Bitcoin as a functional payment tool. Last year, MasterCard partnered with exchange Mercado Bitcoin to launch its MasterCard crypto credential, enabling its first peer-to-peer pilot transaction using aliases instead of long and complex blockchain addresses. So here we go, folks. You can now, it looks like there's a lineup for these MasterCard credit cards, but you can now use your MasterCard in UK and Europe to buy with your Biddy. With your Kraken account. So very, very interesting and very bullish news, folks. Let's face it. We keep talking about such amazing news that keeps coming out with Bitcoin and about Bitcoin. And, you know, as we see here, the price is still in the shits. So we shall see what happens. I really don't know what's going on here with Coin360. Everything is showing 0.00000. I think their site has crashed here because certainly not everything is 0.000. And I don't know what this baby thing is, because this generally is showing, it's almost like crypto bubbles, where the bigger the square, the bigger the market cap is. Where did this baby come from? No idea what this is, so I don't know if they've been hacked, but let's go to something that is, let's just go to BTC and look at their current chart. Let's go to the hour, and we see it at 76,276 right now as we speak. Well, down to 75,840. So price is still tumbling a little bit. Hopefully this thing picks up. If Powell jumps in and reduces rates over the next couple days or tomorrow, as speculated, expect that not just Bitcoin, but everything is going to pump. This to me is still a buy this dip situation. And I've said it before, if the prices dip a little more from here, well, you buy the dip again. And if the prices dip more, you buy the dip again. Bitcoin is not something that is going by the wayside. These little shit coins, and always be careful of the shit coinery, folks. But these little shit coins might go by the wayside. You might not see, Pepe and whatever other crap coins there are in 4 years. But Biddy is going nowhere. You wouldn't have BlackRock with 500,000 Bitcoin and then suddenly it goes to zero, right? I mean, that's just not happening. If the price goes lower, it's a great opportunity to buy the dip. And if you've got to wait a few more months or a few years to see a return, then by all means, it's totally worth it, because the price of Bitcoin is inevitably going to go way up and into the millions, as all the, world-renowned analysts are talking about. And I'm even suggesting that and predicting my, hypothesis is because of the limited supply. It really is one of a kind. We haven't seen anything like this in terms of currency ever in the history of the modern world, or even the ancient world, from what all we've seen. So there definitely is a big benefit to owning Bitcoin. Some of these other coins where they've got huge supplies, Shiba, Doge, I can't tell you what's going to happen to them. Great, they're nice to speculate on, and the price does fluctuate a lot more than Bitcoin. Like if Bitcoin goes up, 5x, I anticipate that Shiba is going to go up, 10 or 20x. But am I going to put my life savings in Shiba coin? No frickin' way, right? These are coins that could definitely go under and eventually will end up going to zero against Bitcoin. If Bitcoin goes to $1 million, everything's going to zero against Bitcoin. The US dollar would have already been at zero against Bitcoin. And if you do the math, when you think, hey, how can it go to zero? That means there's nothing. Well, no, if you just go to 0.00, then it's already at zero, isn't it? So like if $1 equals 0.0001 Bitcoin, it's already at zero. All these other shit coins, Ethereum, if it goes to, the 1,000th place, right, then it's already gone to zero against Bitcoin. That's the way I see it. Remember, folks, money's abundant, money's everywhere. There's $900 trillion in assets around the world. Maybe right now, $800 trillion with all this crashing. But certainly money is everywhere and money is abundant. So go get out there and get yours. A good time to buy the dip in the crypto sphere and in the traditional financial markets is now, and certainly over the next few days and before these interest rates drop, because once they do, we're going to see everything pumping back up. Spend less than what you own, folks, less than what you earn, I should say, and always stay in the green. Spend less than what you earn. You'll always stay in the green. Try not to owe money to the banks. Try not to use credit cards like cash. Use them to your advantage. Use them to build and fix your credit. A little known fact is, if you pay off your credit card in full, immediately it sends a positive remark to your credit bureau. So if you want to fix your credit, put $10 on it, put like a Netflix account or something on it every month, pay it to zero. And within 6 months or a year, your credit score has gone up quite a bit. Pay it to zero every single month. Don't pay interest on it, right? Pay it to zero. Your credit score gets better, and you don't owe any kind of interest. Use it as a borrowing tool for 1 month, which is really how you're supposed to. That's how the smart people are using it, and then the suckers are using it as if it's their money, and that's when you get into the cycle of paying interest and interest and interest and interest, and you end up paying, for one pair of shoes that cost you $100, you end up paying $300 over the long run because of all the interest. So it just does not make sense. If you don't have the cash for something, that's it. You can't afford it. Simple, right? Start saving when you're young, folks. Ideally in your teens, ideally in your early 20s, and the hope is you can retire when you're 40 or 45. If you have a great idea, jump on your idea today. Even if you're not ready, start, and things will slowly come together for you, and your idea will come to fruition. Folks, here at CryptoNews Global, I would like to say that you're not only watching CryptoNews Global, you are the heart of CryptoNews Global. I am on a path to have 500 to 1,000 subscribers this year, and it would be fantastic if you like what you're hearing and you enjoy the show. Please share, like, comment, and especially subscribe, and we will see you on the next stream. Folks, thanks so much for joining.